People laughed at a homeless grandpa until a police officer suddenly saluted him. The afternoon sun warmed the small town square in Ohio. People walked past coffee shops, busy with their own lives. Near a bench beside the old fountain sat a homeless grandpa. Not at all. His clothes were worn, his gray beard messy, and a small backpack rested beside him. Many people passed by without looking. Some teenagers even laughed quietly as they walked past. "Look at that old guy," one of them whispered. "He probably hasn't worked a day in his life." The grandpa didn't react. He simply looked down at the pigeons pecking crumbs on the ground. His eyes were calm, but carried years of quiet memories. A woman holding a coffee cup walked by and shook her head. "The city should clean up people like this," she muttered to her friend. The grandpa slowly stood up and walked toward a trash bin, picking up an empty bottle someone had dropped. He placed it inside and returned to his bench. Across the street, a young boy noticed him. Mom," the boy said softly. "Oh, that grandpa just cleaned the street." His mother glanced briefly. "Oh, don't stare, honey." Old man sighed quietly and sat again. The town had forgotten him long ago, but today something different was about to happen. A police car slowly turned the corner and parked near the square. Officer Daniel stepped out. He was a tall man in his early 30s, respected by everyone in town. He walked toward the fountain while checking something on his phone. Suddenly, his eyes landed on the homeless grandpa sitting on the bench. Officer Daniel stopped walking. For a moment, he stared carefully, as if trying to recognize someone from the past. The crowd around the square noticed the officer standing still. The homeless grandpa slowly looked up. Their eyes met. Then something unexpected happened. Officer Daniel immediately straightened his posture. He placed his hand firmly to his forehead and gave the homeless grandpa a sharp, respectful salute. The entire square fell silent. The teenagers who were laughing earlier froze in shock. The woman with the coffee cup whispered, "Why would a police officer salute?" Officer Daniel walked closer and spoke with deep respect. "Sir, it's an honor to finally meet you." The old man looked confused at first. "You must be mistaken," the grandpa said quietly. But the officer shook his head. "Answer, I'm not mistaken." He turned toward the small crowd that had gathered. "This man saved this town years ago." The whispers grew louder. "What do you mean?" Officer Daniel continued. 25 years ago, during the big factory fire outside town, the flames spread toward the residential area. Hundreds of families were in danger. The grandpa lowered his eyes, but the officer continued proudly. This man was a soldier who had just returned from war. When the fire department couldn't reach the trapped workers, he drove a truck straight into the burning factory. Not the burning factory. Gasps spread through the crowd. He broke open the back gate and helped dozens of workers escape before the building collapsed. The officer paused for a moment. My father was one of the men he pulled out that day." The officer's voice softened. "If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be alive today." The entire square was completely silent now. The teenagers looked down, ashamed. The woman with the coffee cup slowly stepped closer. "But why is he homeless?" someone asked. The officer looked at the old man again. After the rescue, he went back to serve in another mission overseas. When he came home years later, things had changed. His family had moved away, and he never asked anyone for help. The grandpa quietly shook his head. "I didn't do anything special," he said softly. "Well, I just did what anyone should do." But the officer stood firm. "No, sir. Heroes always say that." By now, more people had gathered around. The same people who ignored him minutes earlier were now looking at him with completely different eyes. A bakery owner stepped forward. "Sir, please come eat at my shop anytime. It's free." Another man offered, "You can stay in my spare room if you need." The teenagers who laughed earlier slowly approached him. "Oh, we're sorry, sir," one of them said. The old grandpa looked around the square. For the first time in years, people weren't seeing a homeless man. They were seeing a hero. Officer Daniel saluted him once more. And this time, several people in the crowd quietly placed their hands to their foreheads too, not because they were soldiers, but because respect had finally returned to the man who once saved their town. The old grandpa smiled gently. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones the world forgets first. But when the truth finally appears, respect follows. And that day, The homeless grandpa was no longer invisible. He was finally remembered, a hero of their town.